Hey everybody, it's Ian Armstrong here. Earth Beings Tracker, Bigfoot Tracker, Beings of the Forest, Gardeners of Earth, Mineral Extractors, Wear and Tear Beings, Ecosystem Beings, Weather Influencing Beings, Mimickers, Deadly to Humans, different aspects, obviously on small numbers compared to our 7 billion plus. But those numbers are all growing. The amount of effects that these beings are doing in our industrial lives, like roadways, bridges, buildings, and then when it gets into the industrial trades of wood minerals, different the conditions of the roads, the conditions of, you might drive around and maybe you live in a slummy area so you don't pick up on it. But if you notice your areas are becoming a look of slumminess, where they look dirty and so on and so forth, that's just all part of the natural painting of it to make it look that way, if that makes sense to you. They're amongst us everywhere here. Probably even got some back in there watching me. Just look at those couple of shadow spots there and see if you see the shadow get to grow darker within its own little spot there. It just becomes darker or brighter and larger in some cases where they're starting to accumulate. And this is the shadow's edge, and what they actually like to do is they actually like to get up by the shadow's edge. In some cases I've got them on camera where they're right out in the light. The shadow is a light. You understand that, right? The whiteness is a light, and there's all the colors in between. And they have major amount of knowledge. And a lot of the people that see green, you have to realize that something that's green that looks like it has two eyes, leaves do that a lot. And I'm not taking away from your green guys. I'm not really recalling how much I feel like I see the greenness in the beings. But I know I've seen gray, and the shades of darkness is probably the biggest colors I see. The black and different shades of the blacks into the grays. Obviously gray is a shade of black, quite related, but below there, so on and so forth. But a lot of people are not realizing this, but what you get to see with some of these light beings, what their light functions, what they're doing there in a bush, this quite often looks like a burning bush. Can you relate with that, with any of them? Depending on the intensity that they would do it, it could look like Moses's burning bush. And then I tell you guys how much these things, for years now I've been doing it, telling you how they work with rock and stuff. Mountains. They're mountain shapers, valley diggers, valley formers. And yeah, so the marvelousness of noticing a huge rock's been shifted, broken down, or anything like that, that most people, that when they relate with it, really can get wound up with that and really whatever. I can walk past that pretty easy now because it's so much in the work that I'm doing. Yeah, you're just on the steering wheel. So, having said that, little bit of stuff, ask me questions. You ask me, please. Stuff like I go on and I look around the world at the forest, and I can read our forest like anything in a way that has never been taught to anybody, and I try teaching it to you. I also I'm wanting to say there that I should not let my mind get onto a person that just driving in. Yeah, and I had a more extensive thing to throw in with that. These guys leave patterns in anything they do, and they do a lot of stuff. Why is this so important? Because people go missing by them. Every day somebody goes missing by them. If there's a bad guy out there and I have some kind of an idea that I think people go missing by that bad guy, I'm telling... Oh yeah, so that's part of what I wanted to talk about too. The UAP. Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon. It's a new American government level, a level of government, a new board in there, and I don't want to contact them. I do not want to have to contact them, but that's my only choice. The UAP. And yeah, go to a guy named Douglas Dakota. I think it's Dakota. It's just in Washington State, I think. I'm not too sure. Maybe not. 2 days ago he put out a video, I think it was 2 days ago, and he talks about the UAP, and he also puts it out like it's an urgent message. And I've been following him for a while. He's hardcore military. He will die for military. He will die for his country and how he understands the rights of it, which are pretty darn good. Military guys and me would not click very well when it comes to pulling a trigger understanding. Just so you know. I don't want to go to the UAP. I don't want to lose the grasp of how I can educate you guys. But I haven't committed to that. I don't want to bafool everybody more. People don't realize that our subject of humanness is the size of a mountain. It's not the size of a hill for the amount of information. And it's the same thing with these beings. And most Bigfooters are caught up on the hot 10 topics. A structure, a footprint, a casting of a footprint, their own personal story, somebody else's story, of sighting, like type thing, personal sighting, or somebody else, or you hear somebody's personal story, or you hear somebody's story of a personal story, and so on and so forth. And they really don't get you far, other than maybe into an area where supposedly they are. Well, I'm telling you right now, if they're not in that 100 or couple of 100 acres at that in particular day or for that week, they will be passing through there to do their work if they do not have it set up where somebody is living in there. If you go and camp in the middle of that place, they will start to come. They will end up being around you. You'll be able to notice it in the foliage change and so on and so forth. Nobody lives with them to the way that I do. There was that one guy, there's been guys, there was that one guy that passed away a couple of years ago or a year or so ago, and I'm not pulling up his name. He was quite a hardcore. He would carry a gun. He would show them their gun. He probably, when he was off video, would fire it off, probably even just to give them, because he really felt the fear. I'm able to not feel that fear. I'm able to be in the same situations as that guy and differently and not feel that fear. I have a video of when, and I'm going to pin it below here, when I had a verbal confrontation from one, and you'll be able to hear snapping of wood, trees, branches, whatever, and a lot of snaps. The very beginning, first 1 second or so, and then one at 3 seconds, you hear a couple of noises, and they're huffings. They're not a rubbing of a bag or something like that. You actually hear, like it's a trumpeted kind of growl. I don't make it out enough to know that it was that noise, but I made it out enough to go stop, start to realize that's them. What's up? For 1 minute and 40 seconds or something like that, I confront them. Listen to that video. And if you don't believe that I'm confronting something, try to believe that I believe it. 100%. To my death, I know what happened in that moment. And put yourself, there's no way I would have been able to do that if that was a lion. Because the mentality in me of understanding a lion, knowing that if I was in a jungle place where that could be a lion, I wouldn't have been able to do that. But there's certain experiences that people have talked about these beings over the lots of time, and then I get to see Patty in 1967. Different things like this are our examples. And those examples are pretty awesome for having already put information in your mind. So if you've schooled yourself on your behavior can be a lot more controlled. When Patty was walking across that 400 feet and they were filming her, those two men already had understandings, so they probably felt the trembles and so on and so forth, but they knew their job. They knew reputations and so on and so forth. They knew that she was not going to stop. She does one shoulder check. I know why she does the shoulder check and stuff, and most people don't even seem to clue into why she does the shoulder check. So if you're curious about that, ask me. Peace out. We just gotta make this big before I go to the UAP. Cheers. Don't forget to sub and like. Say a comment of, I hear you, dude. Whatever. Let's get this figured out.